So do you have a black wife or something? Because you sound black.
I don't think I sound black. I think I sound like a constitutionalist patriot.
Do you have a black wife?
I do not.
You have a black girlfriend?
No, I live in Mexico. There are almost no,
Oh,
almost no black women here.
oh, I see. Oh, are you a racist?
Yes, I am.
Are you a nice one or a bad, evil one?
Well, I guess it depends on the day and who you ask.
Yes, guys, I'm here with another doozy. This one is very confusing because this guest claims to be a racist. At the same time, he's still playing victimhood for the blacks. He's actually race hustling for the black community. Very confusing one, guys. Welcome to Culture War. My name is Roland, and I want to thank you, all my returning subscribers, for always coming to the channel to watch my videos. And for all those who still watch and are not subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to get more videos like this. And also, you can support the channel. We need your support by becoming members and also dropping on some super stickers. Without further ado, let's get straight into it.
I have with me Peter B. You know what, Peter? I'm going to need you to pronounce your last name because I can't tell what it is. I'm black and slow.
Schwedhelm.
What? What is it?
Schwedhelm.
Are you a Jew?
No, it's a Scandinavian German name.
Oh, and that's nice. And are you in New York?
No, I'm in Mexico.
You live in Mexico?
Yes, sir.
Wow, with a name like that, I can see why. I'm black. Anyway, well, welcome, Peter. And I'm sorry that I can't do the last name. And
Well,
Peter,
you asked me to call you Jesse, so call me Peter, and that's much easier.
right on. Thank you. Peter is a basketball coach, mentor, and the author of Recovering Racist, a comprehensive and fair-minded attempt to reasonably discuss a discomforting subject. Why is it discomfort to discuss racism or race?
Well, I think that the word racist, we don't understand that racism, like all human attributes, exists on a scale. We hear the word racist and we think Bull Connor, we think Adolf Hitler. And like, for example, I'm overweight. I used to be more overweight. It doesn't mean I'm not overweight. And there are other people who are less overweight than I am, who are nevertheless still overweight. And so we get caught up in comparisons, I think. And so what I'd like is for the word racism to be a conversation starter rather than a conversation ender. And that's what I mean by discomforting. Usually when someone says you're a racist, it's coming from a place of hostility rather than a place of fair-minded discussion.
Yeah.
And my goal is to keep the discussions fair-minded on this topic because I think it's a very important one.
And so do you feel any discomfort when asked or discussing it with anyone?
I don't. But I'm aware that most people do, especially a white person who's being accused of being a racist. In that moment, it's a very discomforting moment for most of the white people who've been in that situation.
And why
like
is that?
Like I said, I think that we associate that word with Hitler and Bull Connor. And when someone says, oh, you're speaking like a racist, we get very defensive and shut down. We think to ourselves, basically, and apologies to the children, we think to ourselves, go f yourself. I'm nothing like Adolf Hitler. And here you are comparing me to Hitler. And that's why I said before, we need to, it needs to be a starting point, not an ending point. We need to understand that there's a scale to it so that you can be a racist without being an evil person, without being a hateful person.
And so are you a racist?
Yes, I am.
Are you a nice one or a bad, evil one?
Well, I guess it depends on the day and who you ask.
Today, are you a good racist or evil racist?
Well, I don't know that you can be a good racist, but I definitely don't think I have evil in my heart or hatred in my heart. I'll give you an example of what I mean, if I may. So when I was coaching at Skyline High School, a kid named Paul Brown was a little bit late to practice, and Coach Mayo, the head coach, was deeply intolerant of tardiness. And he said, where have you been? And Paul Brown said, oh, come on, coach, it's just CPT. Well, I didn't know what CPT stood for. And so I asked, and all the kids on the team got a good laugh about the white guy who was new to Skyline High School, not knowing what that meant. Well, having been let in on that inside joke amongst black people, if I am meeting a black friend for a cold beer or lunch, and the black person's a little bit late, I will be chuckling to myself about CPT.
Yeah.
Now, that's an inside joke that black people let me in on. So I don't think that you would call that evil or hateful. And yet what I'm doing in that moment is associating an individual's behavior with their race. And that is what being a racist is. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying. But do you say, so when your black friends are late now, do you say to them in a joking way, black people are always late. They're always on CP time. Do you say that as a joke?
No, I don't. For the most part, I'm chuckling to myself about it.
So you laughing at the blacks privately?
I guess that's fair to say, yes.
And so why wouldn't you say that out loud to them? The blacks are always on CP time.
Well, I guess from now on I will.
But why haven't you been saying it?
I don't know. A good question. To me, it was just a fleeting thought that was slightly amusing in that moment. But like I said, I do think that when you are associating an individual's behavior with their race, that you are being a racist in that moment. Amazing. Whether you're being hateful or evil or not.
Amazing. So to bring it kind of up to what we were talking about, you are a basketball coach, right?
Yes. Well, at this point, I mostly coach coaches rather than working directly with kids.
Okay. When you were working with kids, were you working in high school, college, or
both?
I'm sorry?
Both, high school and college.
Oh, okay. And you had the chance to talk to some black guys about racism and police brutality and stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot. When George Floyd was murdered, I conducted a series of interviews on the topic because one of the issues I think we have there is that it happens and we say, well, it's an isolated incident. And the literal murders of unarmed black people, that's not a statistically common occurrence. Where I think we miss the boat is that we don't see the culture that permits widespread unconstitutional harassment to be connected with the culture that permits the murders. And so I interviewed a bunch of black friends of mine and asked them about their experiences on this topic, and also interviewed white coaches and asked them to speak with their black players just to find out how widespread is this issue, not of murder, not of a non-lethal police brutality, but of unconstitutional, non-violent police harassment. And I found it was still a very big deal. But yes, these conversations started back in high school when I first started becoming good friends, close friends with a pretty wide swath of black people.
And first of all, how common is it that the blacks who are experiencing racism? I read something about police brutality and all that. How widespread is that?
Well, amongst the 25 black friends that I interviewed, 22 of 25, I interviewed 50 total. So 25 white basketball coach friends and 25 black friends. And 22 of 25 reported being persistently, I don't mean constantly or daily, but a couple times a year since always, experiencing unconstitutional police harassment from, and then also, you may have seen this article, but Reuters interviewed 25 black cops in New York City, and 24 of 25 black cops reported being rather systematically harassed when they were off duty. And I don't think we talk enough about the nonviolent petty harassment, because I really feel that's a foundational piece of the culture that leads to the more violent stuff and the murders, which are, again, in fact, rather statistically rare. But the foundational harassment is not rare, and I think it's under-discussed.
Amazing. And so when you interviewed the white coaches, you said white coaches, right?
Yeah, this was I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead and finish your question.
When you interviewed the white coaches about racism and all that stuff, how did they feel about it? What did they say?
Well, what the two striking things were, one, They have not had that experience. I have, as a white guy going into black neighborhoods, I've been unconstitutionally harassed by the cops. They pull me over because they think I'm there for drugs or hookers.
All right.
It doesn't occur to them that maybe I have a black friend or two. Or I used to work at Jack Yates High School, historically black high school in Houston. There's all kinds of reasons why I might be in a black neighborhood, but of course the cops jump to that conclusion, which is a violation of my First and Fourth Amendment rights, and probably 14th as well. But actually, the white coaches I interviewed have not had that experience. I have, but they, for some reason, have not.
Yeah.
What was disheartening is that 70% plus of the black kids they coach are still having that experience. So we're making some progress because the black people my age, it's higher than 70%. Higher than 70% of them have experienced unconstitutional harassment from the police. So we're down from over 90% to around 70%. And so we're making some progress, but it was disheartening for me to realize that black college kids still, and this would have been in 2021, are still having those experiences. And I'll say this on the topic of progress, because this is kind of a longstanding pet peeve of mine. It's good to celebrate the progress we've made, as long as it's not a damn stationary celebration, right? When Usain Bolt does not get to throw up his hands at the 60-meter mark and celebrate the gold medal. It's good to celebrate that we've made progress. I think that's noble. I think it's beneficial. I think it's good and righteous. And we're not there yet. And so I want the celebration to be a mobile one at least. And I think that's something that I see that in my own observations regularly, and it's rather frustrating.
Maybe they stopped you when you went into the black community because of your last name. But isn't it common? It's not uncommon that whites go into those areas for drugs.
Well, I don't have any stats on that, but here's what I'll say. Regardless of the circumstances, a police officer's hunch is not more important than my damn rights. I have First Amendment rights to freedom of association. I have Fourth Amendment rights to privacy. And those rights are way more important than a cop's hunches, whether or not their hunches are mildly statistically justified or not. Their hunches don't come before my rights, period, is how I feel. And I think you probably agree with that.
How can the cop do their job if they don't go on hunches at time, when it's commonly known that whites would go into the black community?
I think it's commonly assumed. I think it's commonly assumed. I don't know that it's commonly known. But again,
But it is commonly known that whites go into the hoods to buy drugs, to get prostitutes and things like that. Those who are into that.
Or we could have a black friend, or we could be lost.
But he wouldn't be living in the...
There could be...
Right.
We could be on our way to Frenchie's Chicken on Scott Street, which is delicious. There's a million reasons why. And I'm not one to say that a cop's instinct should be more important than our rights. I just don't believe that.
But why would you take it personally, knowing that the cop is just doing his job? You're in a bad area. You're in an area that's commonly known for drugs and prostitute. Why not work with the cop rather than against him? He's trying to protect the innocents, those who are not into that in those neighborhoods. Why not work with the cop on that rather than taking it personal?
Where we disagree is that I don't think that it's part of a cop's job to violate my rights.
But he's not violating your rights. He's doing his job.
If I am in a car driving and I've committed no moving violations and the cops pulls me over, in that moment, he's the one who's behaved illegally. And if someone is trying to violate my rights, I think all patriots should take that personally.
But that doesn't make sense, though.
I don't know anything more personal than having someone try to violate your rights, especially people who've been sworn to protect and uphold those very rights.
When the cops stop you, he asks you, why are you here? You tell him why, and he show you your license and your insurance. And then if you don't have a crime record or anything, they let you go. Is that right? They let you go, right?
Well, I don't show them my license if they pull me over for no reason. I don't cooperate at all.
Are you black?
I explained to them that that they're violating my rights, And at the time, I was a precinct. I was involved in Libertarian County politics, and I explained that to them as well. And usually, they just leave me alone.
Are you black?
They
I
go
mean,
away.
but you're acting black. Why are you acting that way? Normally, white people don't act that way.
Well, I'm proud to not be normal, one, but also I think we all should be. But also on top of that, go to YouTube and look at the videos of libertarian-leaning people, the videos they post, and they're almost all white. Go look at some of those videos. You might be surprised. White libertarians are the least cooperative people with the police of any subcategory of American, hands down.
I didn't know that.
And I do have, well, seriously, go to YouTube because you will, and maybe you'll find some of those videos pretty funny because those folks don't even answer basic questions. My thing is, if I've broken the law, okay, if they have a reason to pull me, a legal, valid reason to pull me over, then they're not violating my rights and I'm completely cooperative. If they don't have a legally valid reason to pull me over and they're trying to violate my rights, of course that pisses me off. Again, like, if they've sworn to protect and uphold my rights and they're intentionally trying to violate them, why in the world would that not piss me off?
But,
so I
where
feel
is?
that I'm in the wrong there.
So do you have a black wife or something? Because you sound black.
I don't think I sound black. I think I sound like a constitutionalist patriot.
Do you have a black wife?
I do not.
You have a black girlfriend?
No, I live in Mexico. There are almost no black women here.
Oh, I see. And so it doesn't make sense that you have nothing to run from, nothing to hide concerning the law. It doesn't make sense that you would not work with the cops to protect the people in those communities or any community that is not committing crime. That's what the cops are supposed to do. That's what we pay them to do.
I think that we're sort of talking past each other right now. I don't feel that by standing up for my rights, I am in the way of the cops doing their legitimate work. I feel that I'm defending the Constitution and my rights and standing up against a bad apple cop. Because if you take an oath to uphold and protect something, and then you're going about violating the thing you swore to uphold and protect, in that moment, I think you're behaving like a bad apple, and I think it's my responsibility to say something about it.
Amazing. Do you think that, I want to define racism for me again. Define it. What the definition?
Well, I think that when you are attaching race to an individual's behavior, you're being a racist. I also think that when you're thinking about a group and attaching attributes to an entire group based on race, you're being a racist. And there's, of course, lots of other ways to define it, but those are the two main ways I look at it.
And so when the blacks are attacking white people and blaming them for everything, and they attack all white people, they don't even care, are they being racist toward whites?
Well, so a couple things. One, I think that was a little bit of a straw man because I don't hear very many black people saying all white people are this or all white, and some do. But let me answer your question after that preface. Yes, black people can be racist.
Are they racist toward white when they're blaming the white for their failure in life?
Well, again, I'm not sure that I love the premise that you're operating from in that question. But I don't. That's not been my experiences. I don't hear lots of black people saying that white people are to blame for every single thing that could possibly ever go wrong. You know, they buy a lottery ticket or whatever and they don't get it. They're not. I don't hear that.
So you don't get the news from out of the States down in Mexico?
Well, yeah. Well, some, but I think my perception is the black activists that I pay attention to are not saying that they believe that every single problem and every single black person's individual life is the direct responsibility of every single white person.
They blame white people for everything.
That's just not what I'm
They
hearing.
blame white people if the whites want them to be on time, if the whites want them to learn, to work hard, to be clean and decent. They call that racism.
Well, that's not that just isn't what I hear. So you and I are following different people, and we've had different experiences on this topic. That's not the black activists that I follow. What they're asking for is equal rights and equal opportunity.
What are equal rights and equal opportunity? What are those?
Well, equal rights are, for example, that when, like we talked about before, not to rewind, but if nearly all black friends my age have had their rights violated rather systematically by the police, persistently by the police, kind of since always, and almost none of my white friends have had those experiences, that's an example where black people's rights are not being protected equally. Or when, for example, if you look at our judicial system, even in the 2000s, you might not know this because it's kind of an obscure study, but in 1986, finally, in Batson versus Kentucky, the Supreme Court finally banned striking jurors based on race. The Supreme Court in 1986 said you can't do that anymore. Well, in the 2000s, the Supreme Court of Mississippi got some information that was still happening rampantly. And so they ordered a study, and they found I think it was 2007, but don't quote me on that. I think it was 2007. They found that it was still happening rampantly with impunity in the state of Mississippi 21 years after Batson. And I want to tell you another stat on that as well, because the common perception is that, well, you put too many black folks on a jury and the black criminal is going to get away with it for sure. And what the stats are on that is that if there's 1 or 0 black jurors, it's a 99% conviction rate with a black defendant. If there are 3 or more black jurors, it's a 92% conviction rate with a black defendant. I don't know any black people who say there's no such thing as a dangerous black criminal and who don't want those dangerous black criminals to be kept away from society at large.
How would you explain the black DAs around the country that are letting the black criminals out of jail? They won't punish them when they commit crimes. They've gotten rid of the bail bond, now no bail bond. If they are against crime or against blacks committing crime, why don't they keep them in jail? Put them in there. Don't let them out so easily.
Well, I would say that the DA in San Francisco, which is the most famous example, who got recalled, he was white, not black. Give me an example of a local black DA who's the San Francisco guy was white. Am I wrong about that? He's the most famous example.
Well, I don't remember his name, but I think he was a white liberal. But in New York, they have a black DA and a black mayor who are racist to the core. They hate white people. They hate unity. So they're doing everything they can to divide the people by blaming the blacks out of control there on the white people. They make sure that the blacks don't go to jail. They make sure that they're out there committing crime. They're not doing anything about it.
Well, so
Do you agree? Are you familiar with that?
Well, a little bit. I'm more familiar with San Francisco. So here's what.
But you're right. There's white liberal DAs.
It's a very complicated topic. I think you'll agree, because what happens a lot is that my understanding in San Francisco is that people who had been arrested for petty crimes, misdemeanor crimes, not the bank robbers and the rapists, but the shoplifters, they were being let out. And then there was an alarmingly high rate of recidivism. And so that DA did, in fact, get recalled via the political process. But I totally understand and empathize with where he was coming from, because what happens a lot of times is a young kid commits a petty misdemeanor crime, the family can't afford bail, and the kid's there for weeks in county or city with really dangerous people. And that's not good either.
Why not? It's a lesson for the kids to learn. Since the parents are no good and they haven't taught the kids the lesson, they have to learn it the hard way.
Well, I think
because otherwise they'll grow up and petty crime affect the people that they're committing the petty crime against.
Okay, so number one, I'm absolutely not going to say that any kid who makes a shitty decision has shitty parents. I don't agree with that premise.
Why not?
Well, because I think I had great parents, and I made a truckload of shitty decisions when I was a kid.
That means you didn't have great parents then.
Well, I think I did, and so do
I know
so do
just
most
because you're
people,
thinking, but you're out doing bad things.
and so do most people who know them.
How come good parents don't produce
but I am
bad children?
But I am well, I don't think that's true.
How
But
can
I am
good parents produce bad children?
Hold on,
You
wait,
don't get bad from good. You get bad
wait,
from bad.
Let me finish my point. I think that lots of kids are not wonderful decision makers. And I am someone who believes that the individual is first and foremost responsible for their own decisions, not their mommy or their daddy. And I think plenty of kids who come from wonderful families make poor choices.
No such thing.
Well, we can agree to disagree without
No,
being
I'm telling you, there's
That's
no
okay.
such thing. You cannot come from good parents and be a bad person. You come from bad parents.
Wait
If
a
you
minute,
want to
I
see
didn't
what the
say-
parents are like, look at the children. The children are a mirror image of their parents.
But I didn't say bad person. I said a kid who made a bad choice.
But people do
that's
make
not
bad
the same.
choices. You have to be a bad person to make a bad choice.
I think that bad people make bad choices persistently and consistently, but not just bad choices. For example, it's a bad choice for me at my age and weight to eat a cheeseburger. But what makes you a bad person is taking actions that harm others. So if you're consistently making choices that harm others, then I think you are a bad person.
But that's what the blacks are doing. Not all, but most. I don't want to get away
you
from
really
this
believe
thing.
that? You really think that most black people are consistently making choices to harm other people?
I see it on a daily basis. They're robbing and stealing and raping and
Really
breaking
think
in
most-
stores. And where you been?
So
You're in Mexico. You
51%,
might not be aware of this.
51% or more.
What?
51% or more of American black people you think are rotten people.
They are out of control. They're evil.
Oh man, that's tough. I didn't know you felt that way. That's pretty disappointing.
Why?
Well, because I think that's a shitty way to feel about a group of people.
Well, I don't feel that way about it. I just see it happening. It's reality. But let me
Well, I
ask.
think-
Let me ask.
I think that one quick point, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I think that the human brain is conditioned to remember things better that confirm something we already believe rather than refute it. And so I think that if you already believe that a given group of people are particularly prone to crime or whatever, every time you see an example of a criminal who belongs to that group, you're going to be more likely to sort of overemphasize that while underemphasizing all of the many examples of members of that group who are not behaving that way. So I think that you may be falling into that trap a little bit.
No,
'Cause
I'm black. Can you tell I'm black?
Yeah, but that doesn't
I
mean...
know black people.
Well, so do I.
I may not know my flaws, but I know black people.
And
And
so
black people are a mess.
But of the 10 black people you're closest to personally, how many of them are horrible people?
Let me see. 1, Georgia, there. 9.
No way. Your family is horrible?
Yes.